It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott is bringing in reinforcements. Mary Jo Foley is here from allthingsmicrosoft.com. They'll talk about the latest Windows 8 schedule. It's sooner than you think. Microsoft gaining some pretty big patents. Will they sue Google? And Facebook and Skype. It's all ahead next with Windows Weekly. Stay here.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, episode 216, recorded July 7th, 2011. You got your Dropbox in my mesh. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off your new account for 6 months, go to Squarespace.com and use the offer code Windows7. And by Netflix. Watch thousands of TV episodes and movies on your PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or TV instantly. All streamed directly to you, saving you time, money, and hassle. For a free 30-day trial, visit netflix.com/twit. And by Audible.com. For the free audiobook of your choice, visit audible.com/windows. It's time for Windows Weekly. Weekly. Wow. The show that covers everything Microsoft. I've turned into a Muppet for some reason.
You didn't just drop the ball, Leo. You sat on it and it blew up.
How did I turn into a Muppet? Hello, Paul Thurrott.
Jeez.
Good to see you, editor-in-chief of the SuperSite for Windows, supersite.com. 28 pounds lighter, so I just pushed the...
I was going to say, you put me in the...
I put the 28 pounds lighter button there.
Wait, that's actually, if I could just lose my next 26 pounds like that, that would be great.
Boom. Like that. He is also the editor-in-chief of the... I said that, a SuperSite for Windows, also the author of Windows 8 Secrets and Windows Phone Secrets.
Yep.
And, hey, we've got a guest today, which is very nice.
Yep.
Let's welcome Mary Jo Foley.
Hello.
Microsoft Observer, longtime Microsoft watcher, expert on all things from Redmond, and you can find her columns at allaboutmicrosoft.com.
Yes.
Makes it very easy to find. Welcome, Mary Jo. Good to have you back.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So let's start with Windows 8. I said you're the author of the Windows 8 Secrets book, but that's really not happening until...
That's whimsical.
It's whimsical.
Actually, I should, to be fair, I'm the co-author, right? I'm writing
with Rafael Rivera?
Yep.
Rafael is is your minion, actually.
No, he's my full-fledged partner.
Okay. That's
I would
what
like
you
a
say.
minion. I would like a henchman or a minion of some kind.
You need a henchman.
We always... Yeah, that'd be nice, but no.
So let's talk about Windows 8 schedule. Seems like we're getting some idea.
Mm-hmm.
We are.
Mary Jo, what do we know? What do we know, Mary Jo? Hey, I like that. What do we know, Mary Jo?
Well, what we know is not from Microsoft.
Does that make it suspect?
No, that makes it more reliable.
It makes it more believable, maybe.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I was telling Paul, I heard from one of my sources about a week ago that they might actually be a little ahead of what we have been thinking has been the schedule. That they might actually even be able to RTM Windows 8 in April 2012.
Would that be interesting?
Actually, when you think about the schedule as we know it, makes plenty of sense. Because if they do release that beta as we expect at the Build Conference, if they then release a public version of that beta by the end of the year, as one might expect, if they then release an RC in January, which I think was roughly the schedule for Windows 7 3 years prior, why couldn't they finish it by April? Right? 3 months with an RC seems like a very reasonable amount of time.
It does, especially if there's no beta 2, especially if there is just kind of limited input from the beta testers.
Well, I think we both agree that that's probably going to be the case. So
that's probably going to be the case. Yes, even though that may not.
Why is that going to be the case? Why?
Well, okay. So I don't have a link to this, and Mary Jo, I don't know if you saw something like this online or got an email about this, but there was some bit of I think it was a blog post where someone had tried to give Microsoft some ideas for Windows 8, and they actually wrote back and said, we're not we're not interested in ideas for Windows 8. We have a
We're done.
we have a
We're done,
course
sorry.
that we're charting, and
We don't want to know.
thank you for
really?
your feedback, but it's not necessary. And
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
it's interesting. It's a little more honest than I think what they did with Windows 7, which was after people like myself and I'm sure Mary Jo and others, pointed out that there wasn't really a big feedback loop occurring here. That they started promoting the fact that this thing was feedback driven. In fact, to the point where they had ads, where I designed Windows 8, Windows 7. Remember those ads? I think which was really just a response to a lot of the complaints about, it seemed like they were kind of shoveling this thing down users' throats. So there's no reason to believe that they won't do the same thing again for Windows 8. And I don't mean that in a cynical way. I just mean that, in the same way that Apple has a very unified vision for what they want to do, or singular vision for what they want to do, I think it's appropriate for Microsoft to want to do that as well for Windows.
Is this a Sanofsky kind of trait? Is this how he works?
Yeah. In fact, to the point, even to the Beta 2 thing that Mary Jo said, not having a Beta 2 is what they did with Windows 7. There's no need for Beta 2.
Does it seem like a good idea?
It worked for Windows 7.
Yeah.
So, sure.
Yeah, I think
to say.
the hard part is for users who actually still believe they have a chance to have input. That they really don't.
Yep.
They have very limited chance for input. I mean, if there's an egregious bug when the beta comes out, they're going to fix that, of course.
Right.
But I don't think they're going to be adding any new features at that point, or maybe even taking features away. It's pretty much going to be set in stone as of Beta 1.
Now,
and
this is I could see that with Windows 7 because it's not such a huge difference from Windows Vista. But what about this new UI? I mean, don't they want input on that?
And that's only part of it. I mean, we don't know what else the rest of it is. That's what's interesting. So, in 2 months or so, we're going to go to build, and we're going to find out. And I'm going to be very interested to hear what they have to say about this is feature complete. Not code complete, but this is our vision for Windows 8, and now we're going to implement it. That is what I expect them to say. But you're right. Now that we're making a bigger change, that raises some issues. The issues last time were just because it was so different. Anyone who's been around a while knows how Microsoft used to do things. They always had some way to provide feedback. An email, alias, a web form, whatever it was, and that stuff kind of went away. Well, it didn't kind of went away. It just went away. So it's a little different now. And I raised a little bit of a stink during the Windows 7 beta where, the letter to testers that they put out was basically, look, this thing's feature complete. Please submit bug feedback only. And
they also used to have that secret test pilots program, right, with Windows 7, where they had this like kind of elite beta tester core that they never wanted anybody to know about. And I've heard they killed that program too, and that's not going to happen with Windows 8 either.
Sure. So there you go.
There's the story, Morning Glory.
I hope we like what we see, because I think we will. I think we will. But, yeah.
Interesting. It seems like if 2012 is about, what is that, 4 years after Windows?
No, it's mid 2012 would be about 2.5, almost 3 years.
So that's about right. 3 years isn't 3 years what you're going for?
Yeah, October would be 3 years.
Yeah, they said every 2 to 3 years is their schedule for Windows.
All right. So
that's right on schedule. I think earlier makes sense because remember a lot of the perception issue here is the tablet thing.
Right.
And as far as the world is concerned, we are way behind on the Microsoft side when it comes to tablets. Although I would point out too, my goof around with my wife about this when we see all these ads on TV for, the Samsung Galaxy Tab 10-inch version of the Motorola Zoom or the HP touchpad. There is a big market today of things that look like but are not the iPad. And as late as Microsoft is, I think they're going to have a nice chance to differentiate themselves with, their no compromises tablet or however they market it. But earlier is better than later. They're not going to make this holiday selling season. So I think there's a possibility that this thing is going to happen right at the same time as a third generation iPad. So any later than that, and it seems like it's kind of over. So, earlier is better.
Yeah. And then there's the whole question, are they going to have the ARM version of Windows 8 out at the same time as the Intel-based version?
Well, they're still going to do that ARM thing.
Yeah,
I
they are
guess why
significantly
not?
better.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know why I'm surprised. It's not like it just. I don't
They
know.
just announced it in January.
It just
Leo.
seemed odd.
Give them a few months to cancel it.
Well, remember NT used to run on Alpha and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
Those days are over.
I'm sure their buddies at Intel are saying, "Hey, could you not do that ARM thing? That would be nice. Thanks."
Oh, you know that
Okay, thanks,
conversation
bye.
occurred, that uncomfortable silence in the meeting room that, we used to be so close, and Microsoft said, it's not me, it's you. No, wait, it's not you, it's me. What's
Actually,
the
I
difference?
wonder how close they were because I've said this before, but I remember talking with Andy Grove. A pre-interview, we were doing a sit-down interview, and he was just railing against Bill Gates and Microsoft, saying they're not keeping up with our hardware. They won't do 32-bit. We want 32-bit. I mean, I bet it's always been a little tense between those two.
Sure.
I mean, they rely on each other.
Hey,
it is Wintel after all.
Intel partnered with Apple.
True.
I'm sure that was like a knife to the back of Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let that scratch you on your way back there. But
What do you call it? WinArm? WinArm? Warm?
I don't
Warm.
know. Do we have to call it something?
Could be warm.
Good
Call it
question.
warm. Yeah.
Warm. I like it.
The thing I don't get, I mean, this is a side conversation in a way, but there's going to be a lot of confusion, I would think, in the market over these things, right? Because you're going to have full-fledged Windows slates that are based on Intel chipsets that run all of your old software, no problem. And then you're going to have these things that look just like them, but don't run all of your old software. And it's weird because they will run all the new software. They'll run the software that comes with Windows, of course. But you're going to have this thing that looks the same but can't run half of the software, or actually most of the software, all of the existing software. It's a little...
Unless, what about that hypervisor thing?
There will probably be some kind of hypervisor in Windows 8, but they've already said that they are not going to virtualize x86 on ARM.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Who's not going to do that?
Microsoft's not.
They're not going to virtualize x86 on ARM. Oh, in other words, they're going to do a native port. That was the response to it.
It's going to be all native. So
It doesn't mean you couldn't do hypervisor on ARM and run x86.
No, it doesn't mean you couldn't do a hypervisor on ARM. It just means that Microsoft's not doing this. So
Isn't
Office
Windows
2007
going
is
to all
not
be
going to run.
hypervised? I mean, everything, just like the whole thing.
Yeah, sure. This is the ultimate sandbox, ultimately.
Right.
Sure.
By the way, we've got a better name, thanks to Tons in our chat room. He is suggesting Armdos.
Wow. From the marketers that brought you Windows 2000.
And now, here comes Armdos.
Tonight on Super Friends.
It does. Exactly what I was thinking. It's a Transformers car.
Yeah.
Armdozer.
He just turns into a multi-armed creature that rolls around on its arms.
Big victory for Microsoft in the patent wars, which are an ongoing shooting war. They did a deal, kind of a consortium with what? With RIM and Apple.
I love the consortium. Yes.
Yes, a temporary alliance
Cabal,
of
as we would
frenemies to acquire the Nortel patents. Google was bidding for them, but Google wouldn't go as high as what was it, $4.5 billion.
Apparently, Google's bids were generated with a random number generator. Did you read about
No,
this?
they weren't. They were they're actually numeric constants.
Right, but
I mean, that's not random. $3.14159 billion. That's not random. The only problem was they couldn't find a constant that started with 4 for some reason.
sure.
No, I think they lost their nerve. But is this a big deal? Is this does this mean that Android's?
I don't know that it's a big deal. I mean, in the sense that it doesn't change much.
Could just be defensive, right?
Yes, I mean there are thousands of patents hanging out in the air that some people own. Apple has some, RIM has some, Microsoft, and so on. The cross-licensing of those patents, it creates a spider web patchwork that you or I could never understand. It's just too complex. There are also lawsuits about the parts and bits that are not licensed or cross-licensed, and I think this was about taking some of those patents out of that pool.
You got to think though that as RIM starts to fail and flop,
Yep.
that they're going to start going, hey guys, can we do that lawsuit now?
Or yes, right. And I don't know how it works exactly, but I would imagine as a co-owner of the patents, they are probably free to sue as they will. Sue Google certainly. It's more likely that if RIM really falls in hard times, which I expect to happen any day now, that they could in fact sell it as an asset. potentially to Google.
To Google. Wouldn't that be
To
funny?
whoever. I mean, to whoever might want it.
Wouldn't that be funny? So is it like they each have a third of the patent? I don't understand.
No.
There's
No,
6,000
they all
patents.
bought-
Each get 2,000? What is the deal?
Is it like one of those? What do you do when you get a property for 1 week of the year?
Right. It's a timeshare.
A timeshare is it? A timeshare
I got a patent timeshare.
No,
can
I
only
think
sue
they
between
all
April-
got different stakes, right?
Is that what it was?
Yeah, like some had a higher stake than others. I think Ericsson had like $340 million contribution.
RIM put in $770 million.
Right. And then Microsoft wouldn't say what they put in.
Well, you could do the
$2
math.
billion,
Microsoft.
I'm sure. Yeah. Microsoft probably paid any fee they could to get Google away from that stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe that was the point. I'm sure Google and Microsoft both were just trying to keep the other away from it.
It's it was RIM, Apple, EMC, Ericsson, Microsoft, and Sony. All cell phone manufacturers or cell phone operating system manufacturers. It could just be it could totally be defensive. But remember, Microsoft has sued over Linux, and I would wonder if maybe Microsoft was also looking at suing over Android.
Well, they already
Well,
they're doing that.
Yeah.
Are they already?
That's already happening.
Oh,
yeah.
it's so hard to keep track of. Of course, that's right.
Yeah, it started with Linux and then it moved to
Yeah.
Android.
Yeah, they're still in a suit. I don't think it's totally over with Motorola. And then the other big one they're in is with Barnes and Noble over the Nook, because the Nook runs Android. And so Barnes and Noble is doing actually something interesting. They're publicizing what Microsoft's tactics are in the suit and saying the kind of NDAs they want them to sign and why they disagree. So it's pretty interesting reading if you go back and read the Barnes and Noble complaint.
That's great. I hate Barnes & Noble, but I really approve of that behavior.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's a way to fight it.
Well, they've certainly got a lot of companies to sign a licensing agreement. And I guess one of the big questions in recent months has been, how much is Microsoft getting per phone? And if it's in the $10 range, wouldn't it be true that they now make more money off of Android than they do off of Windows Phone? And I believe it was the Samsung is who they're looking at next, I think, for licensing Android.
Yeah.
And I saw somewhere that it was $15 a phone.
Yeah, that's supposedly from one South Korean newspaper saying that, and we don't really know. But I'm kind of guessing that's almost like the saber rattling price, where they say,
right.
okay, if you won't sign this, we're charging you $15. But if you will sign it, maybe we'll charge you $5.
So yes, exactly. Yeah.
There's a great article in Forbes this week by Timothy Lee in the Disruptive Economics column, in which he talks about in the 1980s, IBM lawyers descending upon the new Sun Microsystems, seeking royalties for 7 patents that IBM claimed Sun had infringed. And the Sun employee said, well, 6 of the 7 patents are likely invalid, and we didn't do anything that affects the 7th. And then, according to Gary Reback, who was in the room writing in a Forbes article, an awkward silence ensued. The blue suits did not even confer amongst themselves. They just sat there, stone-like. Finally, the chief suit responded, okay, maybe you don't infringe these 7 patents, but we have 10,000 U.S. patents. Do you really want to go back to Armonk and do you want us to go back to Armonk and find 7 patents you do infringe, or do you want to make this easy? I should really be doing it more like this. Would you like to make this easy and pay us $20 million? After a modest bit of negotiation, Sun cut IBM a check, and the suits went on to the next company on their hit list. So this has been going on for years, but horrible.
Absolutely, and in other businesses. But the thing is, in the computer industry, in the tech industry, there is no one company now that kind of overlords over everyone else. Microsoft is one of the few that could do this, I suppose. But you get into a tricky business with mobile patents because all these companies have mobile patents.
According to this Forbes article, Microsoft has 18,000 patents.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And most of them within the last 10 years.
I was going to say, and I'm sure some of them are valid, but well, these things, in many ways, they only get tested when this sort of thing comes up, right? You can apparently get a patent for anything in this country very easily.
And they don't often even get tested. They just are used in a threat.
But this is why this is different. When Microsoft goes to a small company like HTC or even Samsung, I think there's some leverage there. because they could financially destroy that company by just keeping them in court. But you can't do that to Apple, and you can't do that to Google, because if you could have, they would have already done it. Don't you find it interesting that Microsoft isn't directly going after Google? They've sued every little penny Android licensee there is on Earth, but they'd never sued Google. Can you imagine the clash of the titans that would occur if Microsoft and Google actually unleashed the fetters, went at each other?
Release the hounds!
No, I mean, it would be, I'd love to see it, but I mean, I think there's a reason they haven't done that.
That's that mutually assured destruction that everybody talks about.
Yeah. And maybe also because Google doesn't actually make the phones.
Or because Google
all of a sudden,
makes $30 billion a year and could afford to defend.
Yeah, true.
Or at least has more incentive to defend.
And Google could certainly keep Microsoft in court for many, many years. It would be literally a Cold War. It would, that would.
And not good for anybody.
Right. So.
I mean, isn't that the case? It's just not good for anybody. I mean, I'm sorry. Now you guys can defend this.
Okay.
But it just seems to me that this is what happens.
Are we defending it?
No, but I'm curious if there is a defense. It just seems to be what happens at a certain life stage of a company.
Yep.
When they get, it's a form of arthrosclerosis.
Actually, do you know what? As you were bringing this topic up, I had this vision of some kind of a science fiction action movie, and the bad guy is like this android dinosaur thing, and he's about to fall off the cliff and fall to his demise. But then at the last second, he grabs the hero's ankle and he tries to pull him down with him.
Exactly.
That's what this is.
Exactly.
This is that exact moment.
Okay, good. You don't have to defend it then.
Yes, you have defeated me, but
I will kill you.
But I am going to try to take you down with me. Yes.
Notice Nokia is not anywhere in this whole thing. You'd think they'd be in the pool. I guess Microsoft said, we'll take care of this for you. Don't worry. I got it.
They're friends with benefits.
I got it.
Yeah.
No problem. We'll take care of this one.
Just
Next
work on
one's
that
on
one
you.
Windows phone that seems to be taking forever over there in Finland, and I'll handle the lawsuit.
Any word on the N9 at all, Windows version?
Just this
I
year.
want that. I want that phone.
I do too.
Mary Jo Foley is here. She writes for ZDNet. Her columns are at allaboutmicrosoft.com. And you know what? They're all about Microsoft. Who'd have thunk
They are.
Aptly named, Mary Jo.
Yes.
So glad to have you in
Thank you.
in the show with us. Paul Thurrott, of course, as well. Nothing to say about him. He's always here.
This other boob over there.
Who cares? He's always
over
here.
the corner there, baboon.
I really want to ask you about the Facebook announcement yesterday, the awesome announcement, which really involves a Microsoft product. Tony Coates, the CEO of Skype, came on stage and said, because apparently this has been in the works for a while, and one of the things he said was, yeah, the minute this deal went through, my first call was to Mark Zuckerberg. I'm curious what you think this all means. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Before we do, though, I'd like to really, look how much weight I've lost.
Nice.
Oh, shoot. I really would like to talk a little bit. TV can take off 30 pounds.
That's good stuff.
Not in any normal-looking way, but...
I mean, eventually you'll look like a woman, though, if you go too far. Ooh. You're my English teacher from the 6th grade.
No, I look like Dana Carvey. That's what happens. Yes. I want to talk... That's the church lady. I want to talk a little bit about Squarespace.com, the secret behind exceptional websites like our inside.twit.tv blog. And who can ever forget the blog, the site that we created? I got to show you this. BrianIsAunicorn.com. We actually did this on TWiT. Because you have this big green button that you can push that allows you to create a Squarespace site for free for 2 weeks, and this is one of them. And we crowdsourced it. And as a result, it's aesthetically just a gem. So the point being, even if it's a site this dumb, Squarespace lets you create a site instantly. Just go to squarespace.com, click the try it free button, and here's the deal. You get 2 weeks, and while you're playing with it, I want you to take a look at all these great features, the iPad and the iPhone app that's so slick. They got to do a Windows Phone 7 one and an Android one, too. And I'm sure they're working on it. Social integration, that means it's possible to put on your blog things like Twitter and Flickr and RSS feeds without any, HTML at all. It's all point and click sliders. 60 plus great templates, so you always look slick. In fact, what's nice about Squarespace, every Squarespace site is unique. Each one is a special, precious little snowflake. Go to the examples page to get a look at some of these great Squarespace sites. I just think Squarespace is so... Hey, Veronica Belmont. I just think Squarespace is so cool. I want you to try it right now. Look at all this cool stuff that they're doing. This is all Squarespace. By the way, the neat thing about Squarespace is it's hosting plus the software. So, of course, you get the great software, but you also get the best hosting out there. People are always asking me, what's a good web host? What's a good web host? Squarespace is. And you get the software, and the software is always up to date. Here's the deal. Try it free. Just go to squarespace.com, click that big green button. You don't need a credit card. You just need a name for your site, basically. Brian is a unicorn. It's taken. Sorry. And then play with it. If you decide you like it, I got a special deal for you. The sites are very affordable. You can check out the pricing. But while you do the math in your head, if you use the offer code Windows 7, you'll be taking an additional 10% off your new account for the first 6 months. That is a great deal. 10% off, not just for 1 month, but for 6 months. This is a great place to make your website. Squarespace.com. Put your mark on the web, whether it's a blog, a photo gallery, e-commerce. Squarespace.com. Use the offer code Windows 7 when you decide to buy. So the awesome announcement from, I have to say, I think Mark Zuckerberg probably should not have. I think he might have oversold the announcement yesterday. You think?
I couldn't agree more.
It wasn't exactly awesome.
Well, it's expected and arguably overdue. It's sort of a Me Too move at this point, which is a little weird, but there it is. So, yeah,
might he have
necessary.
fallen? I'm thinking about one thing I thought about more and more because as I watched it, initially your initial reaction, this is Microsoft responding to Google Plus and all that. But as I thought about it, if you take Google Plus out of the equation, and the fact that every chat client from Messenger to Yahoo to Google Talk all have video built in, this is nothing new. They've had it for years. In fact, it's funny. Tom Anderson on Google Plus is saying, yeah, MySpace had Skype integration in 2004.
Sure.
So it isn't that new. And yet, I have to say, having played with it, for the people who use Facebook,
yeah, it's 750 million.
It's a revolution. I mean, it's so much easier than just using Skype. You don't have, it's a little plug-in.
Yeah,
it's clean.
It's very Microsoft actually. But what they've done is taken something. Actually, Apple does this too. Taken something that's been out there in the world a while, but your grandmother would never use it, right?
They
it doesn't matter that
productized
Skype was available. They've made it accessible.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of the coolest thing you can do with technology.
I
really.
agree. So I actually am one of those people. At first I went, but then as I think about it, that's not so bad.
I've been using Skype since before you were in diapers.
You kids. Don't you know that G-Talk's had video for years?
But what you're going to see is this crazy explosion in video chat.
Exactly.
Right? Just because Facebook does it. I saw this amazing statistic about Facebook in one of the articles this morning where, I think Facebook provided this figure. Facebook members share 1 billion items, whatever those things are, check-ins, photos, posts, whatever, every single day. 1 billion.
Well, 1 billion is like a little more. It's like 1.2 per person.
Right. So,
but what Zuckerberg pointed out is it's been doubling every year. And he did it was kind of ridiculous, a long explanation of exponential and then Moore's law. And I could just see the journalists in the room going.
Well, I've always been fascinated by the notion of these walled gardens on the internet. Right. We had it before with AOL, and CompuServe sort of before that, and you always think these things are going to go away. And then another one pops up and takes its place, So we have this Wild West out there with all this stuff. And all of the old timers and the experts will say, we've been doing Skype and blah, blah, blah. We've had this stuff for a long time. We have stuff that Facebook still doesn't have, Well, of course you do. But it's interesting to me that Facebook, which is essentially a walled garden, has so many users, and then they can formally make something mainstream just by adopting it. Right? That's the kind of market power Microsoft has in the PC market. It's the kind of power that Apple has in many ways with phones and devices. And it's the type of market power that Facebook still kind of wields over Google in a way.
750 million users. Come on.
Yeah. Well, and more page views than all of Google's properties combined for many months this year.
Right. Well, so what made me, and maybe Mary Jo is best to answer this, but what made me think is, it looks like, I have to say, that Facebook's been kind of partnering with Microsoft all along. Microsoft has a stake in Facebook. Bing incorporates Facebook results into its search. So even if Skype is a Microsoft product, this is not in any way a mismatch.
No.
But does this mean now that there really is a Microsoft Facebook axis of not evil?
I don't know. The evil empire, I still think they're kind of evil.
Is it the friend of my enemy, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, or is it that Microsoft really wants to be in bed with Facebook, or vice versa?
I think Microsoft really wants to be cool.
Yeah, I understand Microsoft. Actually, I understand Microsoft's goal here because that makes sense.
Right.
Why Facebook though? I mean, why would Facebook want this?
Yeah, why would Facebook want it? I mean, I think they want to ally themselves with whoever they can to go against Google.
So it is the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Exactly. Yep. And it was interesting that Zuckerberg said he actually said during the press conference yesterday that he felt better about using Skype because he knew Microsoft was behind it, and that Microsoft has the ability to run big data centers and power, really huge services and the expertise doing that.
Right.
Whether he said it, just for effect or he actually meant it, I don't know. But that's one of their arguments.
Yeah.
Either way, it says a lot about Mark Zuckerberg. I'll tell you that. It's a little strange. As Mary Jo just said, you get why Microsoft or Skype would be happy about this. Skype has 300 million users or whatever it was. Facebook has more. It makes sense. Why Facebook keeps partnering with Microsoft on everything is an unknown. It's not that small amount of money that Microsoft put into Facebook.
What's their stake? Is it 5% or something? What is it? Do you know?
Is it 3?
3?
Yeah, single digits, and it's I think it was 140 million or something like that, or somewhere in that range. Not a lot of money in the context of the worth of that company. Certainly not for the amount of influence they appear to have had. Microsoft.
Well, I think about the movie Social Network, and I don't know if this scene in Social Network is completely apocryphal, as much of Social Network was. But remember where Zuckerberg and Saverin go to see Bill Gates speak, and Bill and kind of look at him and go, "That's Bill Gates," and he says, "Somewhere in this room, the next Bill Gates sits," and it's a great movie moment.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that may be somewhat true, that Zuckerberg really did look up to Bill Gates and did, I mean, in the interview with Sheryl Sandberg in The New Yorker this week, she says Zuckerberg, well, actually, she says Zuckerberg is the Steve Jobs of this generation, not the Bill Gates of this generation. But
I don't agree with that.
Well, she's the president of Facebook. Of course, she's going to say that. But maybe he wants to be the next Bill Gates. Do you think that this is a passing of the torch? No, I mean, not from Microsoft's point.
There's no way
they're not waiting to give the
that
torch
Mark
up.
Zuckerberg is as smart or as business savvy as Bill Gates. So I could see him aspiring to want to be those things.
Our chat room has done some research. Microsoft paid $240 million for 1.6% of Facebook in 2007.
Tiny percentage.
Yeah. Hey, although I'd like 1.6% of a $50 billion company.
Well, the Winklevosses would love that percentage.
I'll take that.
Yeah, but like you said, there's the Bing integration, there's the Windows Phone integration that's getting even better. They're so Microsoft centric. It's so bizarre. It's just Microsoft is so old school compared to the other people that are out there in these markets.
But in a way,
it's weird.
Putting Skype and Facebook is almost in a way acknowledging that, saying, yeah, we're going to be the AOL of this decade. We're going to be the internet for the rest of us.
There are a lot of the rest of us, apparently, right? These guys are closing in. Yeah. It's a big market.
Not so bad.
Right. And I think it's worth noting, too, that Microsoft's perception, the perception of Microsoft outside the U.S. is pretty different from how we see it in the U.S. Like over in parts of Europe, they actually are seen as cool.
Right.
Like, Windows Live Messenger is hugely used outside of the U.S.
Gosh,
I mean,
in Canada, that's all everybody uses.
Right. Hotmail. I mean, Hotmail here, it's like, oh, you're on Hotmail. And over there, it's like, of course you're on Hotmail.
Right.
So,
right. It's like
It's
community
a whole
service.
different thing. Yeah, right.
That's why I leave the United States so often, Leo.
You want to go?
I need to be surrounded by people that actually like Microsoft.
It's like a movie star who leaves the U.S. so he won't be recognized and can, be a real person. Yeah. That's the opposite, though. You want to be adulated. Oh, that is Paul Thurrott.
I think
He
we
is
all
the
seek to
host
be-
of Windows Weekly. We love you, Paul. You are
Paul
beautiful.
has a shirt that he wears over there. It says, "I'm big in Redmond."
Yeah.
I've seen it. He has it.
Does he really?
Yeah.
I was as an Amiga fan from way back. I remember our justification for everything was always, well, it's really big in Europe. They may have sold 6 of them here, but it's really big in Europe.
Yeah, that's what we say about Nokia too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is.
Oh no, it's true. Oh yeah, it's true. Okay, well, enough about Facebook and Skype. What is the latest on the Skype acquisition, Mary Jo? Is it moving along smoothly?
Yeah. Still not done. The DOJ's approved it, but it's not officially still completely approved. So yeah, they've still got some ways to go on that.
I tried to get them to talk about it. I thought that was it, right? The DOJ approved the deal.
Yeah.
For some reason, it was announced on the FCC website or the FTC website, I guess.
Yeah,
And-
FTC. Yep.
FTC. And so I talked, I think it was the Link guys, and so I said, so, how are you going to integrate this? And they said, well, we're kind of bound by some.
We're going to put it in Facebook.
I said, no, you guys, it was approved. You guys are all safe.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, that's
We figured it out. We're sending him to Zuck.
He said, well, suffice to say, we've been thinking about it a lot, but we can't really talk about it.
What is the... it's a little baffling to us outsiders because it seems as if Microsoft already had everything that Skype could possibly offer.
I know. I don't
Except
know.
the user base.
Well,
And the brand.
Actually,
And the brand.
right. So I would say it comes down to the brand as number one, and by far, 90% of it, I bet. Because technologically, they have everything. They actually have more users on Windows Live Messenger than Skype does. I'm not saying they're all audio and video chatting, but there is a user base there. Actually, for all I know, most of the people using Windows Live Messengers auto log onto it when their computer logs on, and they have no idea it's even there. But it seems like there are a lot of people using Messenger. So I don't know. Certainly, Skype, I would say, compared to Messenger, offers a more seamless communications experience, for whatever that's worth, to turn into a marketing droid. And when you see the integration with Facebook, you kind of get a notion for how this kind of stuff could work throughout Microsoft's products.
Yeah. And just think if yesterday's announcement about Facebook and Skype was Windows Live Messenger. Just say, right? I mean, would they have gotten any love, attention, or anything? No. Hey, Facebook's using Windows Live Messenger. Woohoo! No.
It would have been guys in the room saying to each other, so Windows Live is still around, huh?
Right.
Nobody even knows. Even though, well, it's weird because actually, like I said, hundreds of millions of people use this stuff, but it's a complete non-event. So it just doesn't have the excitement, the brand marketing behind it,
And
like
Link, their other product that does everything that Skype does and more, pretty much, is just completely an unknown brand. Like if you say to people, "Hey, have you heard about Link?" What's that?
I never heard of that. What is Link?
Right.
Even there's a
Link?
Microsoft guy in here who's shaking his head. He never even heard of it. Have you ever heard of it? Oh, he's a developer evangelist. He's heard of it. He says, of course.
So Link is
Jerk.
Link is the successor to Office Communications Server. You ever hear of that either?
No. It's enterprise stuff, isn't it?
Right. Enterprise
Except
stuff.
that what it is really is Windows Live Messenger done right. It's
Right.
Windows Live Messenger without any of the crap, for one thing. There's all this junk loading down Messenger, but it has awesome integrated, presence and text, video, audio chatting, group conferencing, the ability to share a desktop or an application with others, do whiteboarding and collaborate on documents. It's got this whole communications platform. It's awesome. It just came out, so it's still kind of a new thing. No one's really heard of it. Mary Jo's right. It's the second or third version, I guess, of what used to be
And
Office.
it's in Office 365, I'm being told.
It is part of Office 365, and I think Office 365 is going to be notable for a number of reasons, but two of them are going to be making products like SharePoint and Link, both of which are awesome, just more broadly available to the general populace. For the first time now, regular people are going to be able to access this stuff, and I think it's going to be eye-opening because it really does work well.
the one thing though about Link is it's not free, right? I mean,
Yes.
Skype is free, Live Messenger is free, Link is not free, and so that's another differentiator. But you get a lot of functionality with Link, and because it's part of Office 365, you can pay, X number of dollars per user per month. So it makes it more affordable for like small businesses and all. But yeah, that's another big differentiator worth pointing out.
But so Skype is really though a consumer product. It's not. I mean, are they going to use Skype in the enterprise? No.
Well, you have
Yes.
Skype for Business, right?
Yeah.
There's
yeah.
Skype
No,
for
they will
business.
use it. Yeah.
I wonder how many businesses use that. They'll use Microsoft or Cisco or some other conference.
I don't know.
system.
Obviously, they haven't discussed this, but I anticipate seeing such things as the next version of Link, powered by Skype. That's how they'll say it.
Yeah.
Now, I got to point out something. Skype's protocol is peer-to-peer. In fact, it seems to me this is one of the reasons that Facebook is a good partner, because Facebook, when you throw 750 million people at a technology like Skype, either you have massive server farms
You don't
or
want
you're
it running off the
peer-to-peer.
NT4 box in the closet.
Yeah. So because it's peer-to-peer, Skype kind of naturally scales. Now, as far as I know, Microsoft's not doing peer-to-peer solutions, right? It's all client-server solution.
Right.
I've heard
but there was
that,
there was a very interesting post today on the Skype blog that I saw where they said, yes, we are a peer-to-peer service, but in order to support what we rolled out yesterday, we're adding tons of servers to our data center.
Well, they may be connection servers, but
Right,
but
right.
I
But I
bet
mean,
you they
there's
welcome the unwashed masses of Facebook, because none of them will be smart enough not to be super nodes. Many of them won't have routers, and so they'll just suddenly they've got all these new super nodes. And for those who don't understand Skype, that's the technology that makes Skype work, is that it uses your computer as in a peer-to-peer
Actually, I would
fashion.
add it's that and the Delphi programming language. But please continue.
No, you're kidding. Skype is written in Delphi?
Windows Skype is written in Delphi.
Wow. Now that's something to get excited about.
See?
Oh, I'm sorry. Where's my CPAP machine? So, anyway, I thought that was interesting, and obviously Facebook has been working on this Skype integration long before the acquisition by Microsoft, and Mark kind of implied that when he said, "I was so happy to hear Microsoft's involved," as if he was worried.
Yeah. Or as if, he somehow was kept out of the loop until the last minute. Hey,
Yeah,
Mark,
right.
before you go on stage, by the way, I just wanted to remind you.
Wow, you just got bought by
Microsoft might be buying these guys. Really?
Ooh,
Well, that makes this even better.
that's making my flip flops.
I should have promoted this more before the announcement.
Even better than I ever thought.
Yeah.
Moving along to item number 4 on our agenda. I'm going to just read it straight out and let you explain it, Paul.
Jeez.
Simplicity comes to PCs.
Okay.
Huh? What you
All right.
talk about, Willis?
So I haven't been able to publish my review of Mac OS X Lion yet because it's not available generally.
You've been reviewing Lion?
But let's just say
You turncoat you.
that in the days ahead that will happen, and that one of the things that's very obvious about Lion, and you can see it in Windows 8 as well, and a little bit that we've seen, is that these companies who make traditional OSs for PCs are getting ideas now from their mobile stuff,
Yeah.
which makes a lot of sense. Good ideas in some cases, bad ideas in some others specifically, but I like this trend, and this is that thing we've talked about in the past where PCs need to get simpler and adopt that kind of stuff from the devices, and devices are going to get more capable, and they're going to meet somewhere in the middle. But I find it very interesting that now we're finally hitting this inflection point, I think, with traditional OSs as more and more people go to these mobile devices. Microsoft is moving Windows to ARM, and they want to make it more generally available to other non-traditional PC types and so forth. They're starting to look at finally doing this thing. But I think from the perspective of people who listen to this podcast, the interesting bit perhaps is for the power users in the audience, this is going to be difficult, because we don't like that stuff.
Yeah.
Mac OS X users don't want Launchpad to launch applications from. They don't want that interface for dummies thing. In the same way that I've seen a lot of negative reaction to the Windows 8, the Windows 8 start screen that we've seen. You hear from these sort of power users, and it's like, no. So, I think we're reaching a point of no return here, and I think it's important, and I think it's positive overall. But I think we're going to see a lot of people go down kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
In the same way that people who love the DOS command line did that when Windows 95.
I've already started kicking and screaming, actually.
Yeah.
No, seriously. It started on the Mac side.
Yep.
When Apple came out with the App Store, I said, "Oh, I have great fears of this because it's going to be very appealing to users because it's simple, it auto updates. It's going to be very appealing to developers because Apple, exposes programs, only takes 30%, makes it easy for you. Everybody's going to love it. Everybody's going to use it, and we're going to rapidly get to the point where pretty much all software is controlled by Microsoft, not by, that would be nice, by Apple. And I just see the simplicity often is to the detriment of people who want something that's a little bit more challenging but a little bit more powerful.
So I did not write this in my review, but I was reminded of this at the time and am now reminded of it again. And the classic argument here is the one around automobiles. In the beginning days of the automobile, you had to be a mechanic. You had to be able to fix anything that went wrong with this thing because things went wrong all the time. And for cars to become mainstream, of course, they had to become sealed black boxes, essentially, where we still have mechanics, but to use a car, you don't have to understand.
But there's still auto enthusiasts, and they have a little, more. You can
I love that, by the way. And yes, but it's this. You see, this argument sort of evolves over time. And to take the car analogy forward, as cars become more computerized, the mom and pop mechanics, like the guy up the street, can't do a lot of the things.
Yeah, no shade tree mechanics.
That you could do in the past. And so this is sort of a never-ending argument. It's not only related to computers, but it is, I think, a natural evolution of any market where for it to become mainstream, for it to truly attract that next billion users, it has to keep getting easier.
When the toaster was first invented, you actually had to have an electrician come to your house and install it. No, I'm
Is that
kidding.
true?
No. But I'm hoping it'll appear on Wikipedia.
You're really old. Remember when toasters were 6-volt and they would only toast one side of the bread at a time?
Exactly.
I don't, but I believe it.
It would come with a toaster mechanic.
I do believe it. That makes sense.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lordy, Lordy. So do you bemoan the simplicity, or this is just evolution?
No, I rally around this, and there are dumb examples of this stuff over time, but this just came up because I've been going through my old articles on my site to get them properly tagged, for the new CMS, and I saw a review I'd written in 1998 about Plus, that's little add-on pack.
Plus pack.
Themes and all this junk.
Yep.
And what I wrote at the time was something along the lines of, look, a lot of people are going to look at this and say, like, this is frou-frou stuff, it's silly. But, anything that makes a computer prettier to look at and thus easier to use is okay. We shouldn't just denounce this thing because it's, like, kind of cute and silly and not necessarily, but it's something that makes it more pleasing for people. So if you want a little animated clock on as your cursor, or you like a pretty wallpaper, or your icons to look different. I personally find that stuff to be silly, but if that's what makes it okay to use that computer for other people, then I think that's okay. I think it's a good trend. So
I mostly agree with that. I'm actually a good person to have in this discussion because I'm not a power user. I totally am not one. Yes, I'm not. I admit it. But
how did she get in here?
Yeah, what are you doing here? Who let a woman in here?
What's actually more worrisome to me than the power user, non-power user debate is the business consumer debate.
Right.
Okay, it's great to have that really fun Windows 8 UI that we saw Microsoft show, and touching it on a touchpad, all that, that's awesome. But what if you're a business user and you've got a desktop machine? Are you going to want to navigate that kind of a user interface? And if you're not going to navigate it, what are your legacy apps going to look like, and how's Windows 8 going to look for you? And is it really going to be easier? Is it going to be better? So I think there's a lot of things that are more splitting along the lines of consumer business than it is necessarily power user, non-power user.
That's a good way to put it, actually. Yeah.
I still wish that the business parts of Microsoft is split from the consumer bits, and that they could be served by this kind of core OS team where they delivered the core bits, but then they allowed the different groups to put their front ends on top of it. and that the business-oriented one could be something different, and then the consumer-oriented one could be something prettier or whatever.
Don't yell at me.
Okay.
But isn't that really what Windows 8 is? I mean, if you slide the Windows 8 stuff off, there's Excel for the power user.
But that stuff's going away. And the point here is that that stuff, by relegating that to a second screen, a secondary screen, Microsoft is stating its intention. And God, the thing moves slowly. It's like the Titanic here. But, you know, they're going to slowly move away from that. 2 or 3 versions of Windows from now, that desktop will just be gone, as will application compatibility with all of that stuff. So they maintain that compatibility for a short time so people can actually for a long time, so people can transition. But I think ultimately the goal is to move forward to this brave new world.
Plus, so if you're a software developer, right? You're a software developer who's going to write a new, like the best killer app for Windows 8. You're not going to write something that works with the old screen. You're going to write something that works with the new screen. So it kind of is putting a damper on, I think, on business applications that people would use with that older legacy look and feel. And it's definitely favoring more consumer-focused, kind of fun games, you know, lightweight applications.
Let's not forget, too, and no offense to anyone who's a Windows developer today, but applications written in what are now modern application frameworks on Windows, you know, Windows Presentation Foundation, Communications Foundation, and so forth, not a big deal, right? There are no major examples of any of these things. There are no major new apps that occur on Windows, period. So I think one of the things that we need to remember is that Microsoft's trying to change that, and that by embracing the web, they hope to garner the support of a much wider group of developers and a wider range of skills, and that people will begin targeting Windows again. You know, if they don't, Windows becomes that thing that Mark Andreessen talked about. You know, an application launcher, essentially, not worse than an application launcher, a web browser launcher from which you then derive all of your apps. So, you know, Microsoft Office is a big deal, and there'll be new versions of Microsoft Office. But Office is not a new application. It's not a new... When people start major applications from scratch today, they do, by and large, they do it on the web. And then to a lesser degree, they do it on mobile. And I only say lesser because mobile apps today tend to be less sophisticated, but that's going to change over time as well. Actually, that's true of the web, too. So, I mean, those things are both going to become a lot more sophisticated. So... That's where new application development's occurring. Windows as an application.
Except for one exception. I want to put in one exception. Line of business apps, right? That custom apps that, you know, some businesses build that are only used by their employees. A lot of them do use like WPF and WCF. They do use those things still.
Because they're easy, because it's rapid application development.
Microsoft has a new development environment that is insanely targeted at IT pros. It's called Visual Studio Lightswitch. And Visual Studio Lightswitch is sort of a wizard-driven thing that allows you to connect a front end that's very easy to build to a back end that's based on some kind of a database. And it creates essentially what you're describing, a line of business apps. IT pros do not know how to write programs. Administrators don't know how to write programs. But this thing creates native applications, not web pages. And to me, that's just crazy. And I guess all I'd say to the line of business thing is, you're right, but those don't see the widespread use of something like Microsoft Office. And frankly, at this point, should be written to target web browsers.
Well, if I'm writing, could I write WPF-style programs in Silverlight? Isn't that what Silverlight kind of is?
Yeah.
Silverlight is essentially a derivative of WPF, I think would be the way to put it.
So maybe that's the answer, is you need RAD tools for Silverlight. Then you deploy over the intranet or, like that.
Yeah. Well, Silverlight's a little tough. So, well, because Silverlight requires an install, right? It's a separate install. It's not a thing that's just built in. I mean, there are a lot of installs today you can do for applications where you have to install a particular version of the .NET framework in some cases, or Silverlight, and I think those things are aggravating.
So you want to do HTML5? What do you want to do?
Me?
Yeah, what do you want to do, Paul?
No, I don't. I don't want to do anything.
What's your bright idea?
No, I think that Silverlight would be a fine future for Windows. It should be built into Windows.
Right. There's some question about what the future of Silverlight is. I know we talked about this a while ago. What do you think, Mary Jo? Because when Sinofsky was showing it off to All Things D, he was a little cagey about Silverlight. And Paul and I discussed this. We know what Paul thinks. What do you think, Mary Jo?
I think they're not going to totally do away with Silverlight. but I think they're kind of trying to box it in on the Windows side and make it less, not useful, but like less central to the whole way that you develop for Windows. They're kind of marginalizing it, I guess I would say, and in my view.
I hope they don't. There's every indication that they are doing that. I don't know if we ever talked about this, but in the Longhorn timeframe, Longhorn during 2003, they were talking about this thing called XAML, and then you were going to write this C# code behind it, so you could do declarative, markup type UIs, and then you'd write code behind it, right? And this thing that they're talking about with HTML/CSS plus JavaScript is sort of that again, right? Except for the web. So it allows them to retain a sort of development style that they created almost a decade ago, but bring it forward to the web, and thus make it more approachable. I think HTML and CSS are arguably easier to learn than XML, although maybe it's a fine line. And JavaScript is certainly a less sophisticated language in some ways than C#. Arguably, they're comparable. Whatever. So, I mean, maybe this is just an implicit admission by Microsoft that, their way has not won, and, they need to embrace what has won.
Is Light Switch the future? Is that where they're...
Light Switch is not the future. I want to be very clear about that, Leo.
We now have sliders.
I am very upset about Light Switch.
Oh.
Wow. Are you really? Do you wish it were more Delphi-like?
Targeting a development tool at IT Pros is insane. Targeting an IT Pro-based development tool at native Windows applications is doubly insane. And then charging you money for that is the icing on the insanity cake that we're now all enjoying. It makes no sense at all to me. So I don't know if they want to use that in a promo or whatever, but they're free to go ahead and do so.
C# Fritz, who sounds like you might know what he's talking about, says he thinks Visual Studio Light Switch is the new Microsoft Access.
Fantastic. Or as I call it, the smallest freaking part of the... No,
ODBC is back, baby.
Okay. The Fox Pro of the...
Oh, Fox Pro. I remember that.
Yeah, see?
I loved Fox Pro. Take me back to those D-based programming
The people who
days.
used Fox Pro were as militant about it as the people who apparently still use VB6 today. You'll always find this little group of people who refuse to move on, but...
Do you remember how... well, of course you do, because you were a D-based programmer. The schism when D-Base 3 came out between Fox Pro and D-Base 3.
What I want to know is why Ashton Tate or whatever.
Don't call it Ashton Kutcher, please.
Whatever is left of that company,
yes,
did not sue Apple when they came up with iTunes, because that thing was an absolute ripoff of the D-Base 3 Plus UI. They're almost identical.
Really?
Yeah.
Boy, we've really
but
jumped
they're both
the
horribly
shark
ugly,
on this
is
one,
my
I
point.
tell you. I don't know. There's a
it
few 80-year-olds going, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that bothered me too, actually.
Bothered me.
Bastards.
Ashton Tate.
It was like a DOS-up, too. I mean, it's crazy.
I don't remember that. I'll have to go back and look at that. That's interesting.
Ashton Tate. What happened to Ashton Tate? They probably got bought by Borland or something, and then
there was a whole thing.
Borland imploded, of course.
Yeah, there was a whole
I
thing.
bet that's what I bet Ashton Tate turned into Borland, became part of Borland.
There's probably a Wikipedia entry.
If only there was some way to research this.
Yeah. Somebody who knew this and wrote it down
Yep.
in a sort of a editable format. Oh, look. Wikipedia.
Yes.
Ashton Tate.
Yes.
The US-based software company best known for developing the popular D-Base application software. One of the big three, I love that, one of the big three software companies.
Yes. The other two being what? WordPerfect and
No,
Lotus?
Microsoft and Lotus.
Oh, look.
The company stumbled. Ow! And was later sold to Borland in 1991.
Oh, look at me with my memory.
You are good. But of course, Borland developed Delphi, so you were watching closely.
Borland, of course, didn't just drive it into the ground, but actually launched it into space so that it could fall from a higher height.
I like this chapter. D-Base 4, Decline and Fall.
Yep.
It is basically, this is like the Gibbon of software. The decline and fall of the Holy Roman Empire. Let us talk about, and I know Mary Jo is very excited about this because she's an enterprise type person. Small Business Server 2011 Essentials. I'm just going
Woohoo.
to take a break while you guys talk about that. I'm just going to
What was the code name on that, Paul?
Aurora.
Aurora. Okay. Yay. Now I know what it is. I didn't know what it was until you just said the code name.
Aurora is
sorry.
now available.
Yes.
And Acer has the first server, the AC100.
Yeah, and this thing's on a slow boil because back in, when was TechEd? May or April? May?
May.
May.
May. Yep.
They said in late May, early June that there would be new servers available that were running on this and also on Home Server 2011. And now they're just finally coming out. So I think everything's been pushed back a month or two. I get a ton of email from people who are looking for Windows Home Server servers, especially.
Could you use this for Windows Home Server?
Absolutely. You'd have to install it yourself.
Yeah,
but there's no
you
reason why
wipe the drive.
That would work very well. In fact, I believe Acer is making a home server and would not be surprised to discover that it's this box, but pre-installed with Windows Home Server.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's a cute little box. You know, the HP obviously was the classic for the first generation of home server with the Media Smart servers, and then they dropped out of the market, so we'll see. But see, here's the problem. It looks like that thing only has 3 drive bays.
No, that's 4.
Is it 4?
Isn't that the fourth one down here? They're just,
I know.
It's something sticking out. Why would you put 3? What,
I need a
maybe you're
box
right.
just like that, but it needs to have...
Why would you put 3 drive bays in there?
I need... Right. Well, I saw the phrase up to 6 terabytes of storage.
I see
so,
4 lights on the front. That must be 4 drives.
well, here's what I'm thinking.
Oh,
I'm
6
thinking that
TB.
the top 3 are free. The bottom one comes with the drive, and that's the
Populated.
system disk.
Got it.
And that you add the 6 terabytes of storage to it,
Got it. That
because
makes
you know
sense.
2 terabytes per disk.
So
I'm
you have
just
a 2
guessing.
terabytes for the operating system.
Well, you don't know. It's actually you only need 160, so
Okay.
it probably comes with a. It could come with an SSD. I mean, it could come with.
Mickey Chan says it is 4 discs.
It is 4. Okay,
Yeah. And look, it has a plug on the back.
it's cute. I like servers like this. I love these little.
I do
you know,
too, actually.
Bread box servers.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I have one
So
in my...
this one's the hybrid server, right? Half in the cloud, half not in the cloud, right?
Yeah,
like
so
Paul.
there's not much. The local thing, it's funny because there's not much to it. It's got Active Directory, so it's domain based. It's very
Yeah.
simple. It's all wizard based. There's storage and user management and that kind of thing. But yeah, what they expect is that I think a lot of people, frankly, are going to come in. They'll buy this thing for whatever local stuff they need, printer sharing and file sharing. And then you can attach, Google Apps to it. You could use Office 365.
Office 365, right?
Be the Microsoft
CRM online, maybe?
Yep.
Like a little CRM server?
You could have actually, as with an add-on, you can add a second server that runs SQL Server and the traditional version of Windows Server. So if you want to do line of business apps locally, you can do that. But yeah, this is for those people who previously didn't really have much of a choice. They don't want all their infrastructure in the closet or under someone's desk, but they do want that stuff. So they provide this really low-cost server on the one hand, but then they put all the infrastructure stuff, email, PIM, collaboration, and the link communication stuff is all up in the cloud with Office 365. So this happened about a month later than I thought it was going to, but it's finally starting to happen.
Yeah. I wonder if they were just waiting for Office 365. Because you could have used it with BPOS, right? But they'd rather have you.
Well, so yeah, very tellingly, they're not going to build any BPOS integration into this. This is it's Office 365 only. Leo, you still with us?
No, I'm sorry. Just I was, yeah. Hello?
I heard your
It's
head.
ironic, actually. You must have read my mind because I was just saying to the people in the studio, I try not to get too bored.
Can you
by
believe
these
they're
type
still talking
of
about this?
conversations, but I'm afraid I completely lost the thread. Hey, did you get your birthday cake?
I did.
Happy birthday, Hotmail. It's 15 years old, and you and Mary Jo both got cakes. Not the same cake.
No. Nope, I didn't get a cake.
No cake?
I didn't even get a cupcake. I got no cake, no cupcake, because that team doesn't like me too much.
Really?
Yikes.
What
I don't know why.
What did you
I like
say?
Hotmail.
What did you say nasty about Hotmail?
I don't know. I'm a Hotmail user even. I have an account on Hotmail and I actually use it and I like it. It doesn't even
She's
have
Mary Jo
less-
1734 at
Yes,
hotmail.com.
Exactly. Exactly. I told Paul to send me his cake since he wasn't going to eat it, but he didn't send it.
Yeah.
Mr. No Carb.
I asked my wife how it was, and she said, "Yeah."
If you really like Paul, next time, send him a meat cake.
Yes.
Bacon cake.
Just send me like a goose liver.
So happy birthday, Hotmail, and I've just been informed it's also Liz Romero's birthday. Happy birthday, Liz Romero.
So Hotmail's anniversary.
She's 15 as well, by the way.
She's 15.
Yes.
Nice. That's you got to watch out for those child labor laws.
Are there rules about that? Because
I think so. I'm not an expert.
I just find that people before puberty, people work so much harder.
that's downhill from there.
Let's move on. So, Hotmail, in the wake of the SkyDrive update, a steady series of small but important improvements to the 15-year-old Hotmail. In computer age, 15 is like 105.
What's that?
15's 105 in computer years.
Yeah. In Ashton Tate years.
Yes.
So this is something I really just don't know much about. I guess we could sort of consider these improvements, Hotmail and SkyDrive both, as maybe the first of what will hopefully be a coming generation of Windows Live improvements. So like a Wave 5, I guess we're on. Have you heard anything about this? Because, in the past, this stuff was very transparent and open, and today, Windows Live is part of Sanofsky's regime, and we don't hear anything. So what do you know about that?
Zero. I know zero about that. And
damn you,
not
Sanofsky.
surprisingly. I didn't even get a cake, so of course I don't know about the next version.
You're really burned about the cake. I'm going to send you some cake. I didn't realize.
Thank you about the cake.
Was it a coconut cream? What kind of cake was it?
It was a chocolate cake with white filling. Yeah. It had a beautiful Hotmail logo on it.
Oh, that's nice. I wonder how many of those got sent out.
Someone pointed out on Twitter, I put a picture of it on Twitter, the copyright and trademark symbols were still included on the icing.
Oh, geez.
So they were sure to include that as part of this. You can scan it like a photo or something and you put it in.
Note to Microsoft: no one's trying to steal the Hotmail trademark.
I also got accused. Some people thought I made the cake.
Aw, wouldn't that be cute?
Like I have all this time.
Paul loves Microsoft so much.
What Microsoft product is celebrating an anniversary this week? Oh, Hotmail.
He made a cake.
Because that's how I spend my time.
Yeah, no word, Paul, on Wave 5, but there was a little update to Windows Live Essentials this week. The 2011 version of that.
So what was that about?
So that was like some security and performance enhancements, and they're pushing it out in 2 phases. They're going to have the first version. You can go to the download center and get it. It's like a lot of incremental stuff for if you have Windows Live Essentials on your PC. So that's like Movie Maker and Photo Gallery and all that stuff.
I use some of this stuff every day, and it freaks me out how they never update it. This was the prompt, right?
They did today, in fact.
I mean, with functional updates,
Right, real updates. Yeah.
Because some of this stuff is great. Windows Live Writer is awesome if you're a blogger. And I don't know if you use that on your own stuff, but that tool's fantastic. And then Windows Live Photo Gallery, I think I use it almost every single day. I use it to acquire the pictures because I love the way you can organize them, and it has great tools for fixing them, and then great online integration, Flickr and Picasa Web, and of course Microsoft stuff, Facebook. It's all there. It's really, really nice. And man, has it been sitting still. Actually, you were in the room, I think, in New York when Windows 7 launched. Were you there in that hotel room? We were supposed to meet with Mike Angelo, and he didn't show up. Were you part of this?
Yeah.
I know Tom was there.
Memories.
So they sent in some other guy, some other clown, who knows, poor bastard. And he's going on and on about Windows Live. And I said, and he said, the beauty of this thing is by taking it out of Windows, they were trying to make it look like a benefit. Not that they were forced to do this by antitrust lawyers. This means we can update these things far more frequently than we would otherwise if it was tied to Windows. And I said, yeah, that's a fantastic theory, but you've been doing that for 3 years and you haven't updated Windows Live any more frequently than you update Windows. And he was like, well, look it up. So, there was no evidence that you've done this at all. What makes me think you're going to do it? And here we are almost 2 years later. Nothing.
Yeah.
It's sitting still ever since they released it. Yeah. So it's too bad.
It's interesting the things that aren't in the Live Essentials suite are being updated, though, like Hotmail, right? Like Hotmail's getting all these gradual updates.
Well, it seems like services...
Isn't Live Mail, doesn't it supersede Hotmail, or are both getting updated?
So Windows Live Mail is the application that runs on Windows. It replaces what used to be called Windows Mail, what used to be called...
okay. So Hotmail is still there. It's not... Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I asked him, when the SkyDrive stuff happened, it was SkyDrive. They kept saying SkyDrive. The logo was SkyDrive. There was no Windows Live to be found. And after the briefing was over, I actually called them back and I said, so are you de-emphasizing the Windows Live brand? It seems interesting to me that in your documentation, the actual reviewer's guide that you sent after the fact, it never says Windows Live anywhere in here. And no, we're not doing that. It's Windows Live SkyDrive, but we know people think of it as SkyDrive. Windows or Hotmail for a time they were trying to push it as Windows Live Hotmail, which is such a horrible name.
It's just too many letters.
Well, it has a brand. The Hotmail brand, whatever you think of it, is very popular with a lot of people. People know it. So I think they finally kind of clued into that to the tune of, Windows Live Calendar, which is part of Hotmail. Silently, one day this year, they started referring to it as Hotmail Calendar. And that's a little change that has occurred behind the scenes as well. So it seems to me that services would be easier to update, because you're making this back-end change. You don't have to roll it out to millions of desktops.
You know what else people
that's
like?
Why
Go ahead, Mary.
Right.
Jo.
That's why the Live Essentials thing is harder to update, because there's a software part of it, right? And then there's also the service. It's not just a pure service. So it's tied to Windows in a way, surprisingly.
And when Windows Live Wave 4, the current version, 2011, no, wait.
Yes.
2011, when that came out, Windows Live Spaces was still a thing. It was still a sort of a viable, and they had to make a change to the Writer product, which is their blogger tool, to emphasize WordPress, a third-party service that they partnered with.
Well, that's weird.
Yeah, because they got rid of their own blog engine. Yeah.
Right. They were kind of trying to be Facebook back then, and then they decided that was a bad idea, and so they pulled it, and now they're buddies with Facebook.
This is what unfortunately, and this is the sad truth with Microsoft. Even the unpopular products, such as they are, millions of people use them. So you have something like Spaces. None of us could ever point to someone's space. There was this awesome Windows Live Space. You should have seen it. No one has an example of this, but there were millions of sites dedicated to kittens and other, pointless topics that people created in Windows Live Spaces simply because Microsoft offered it. And those people, of course, were pretty burned by the move to WordPress, even though it's awesome because it's just unfamiliar to them.
Let's take a little break. We're going to come back with more. Mary Jo Foley is here, allthingsmicrosoft.com. Paul Thurrott from the Windows SuperSite, winsupersite.com. We talk a little bit about Xbox and Zune and Verizon, of all things. And, of course, we've got our regular tips and more. But right now I want to talk a little bit about Netflix. Netflix. If you're a movie fan, you got to love Netflix. Of course, everybody knows about the DVD by mail service, but did you know you can also watch live streaming movies from Netflix on your iPad, your iPhone, your PC, your Mac, your TV? You can watch it on your Xbox 360, your PlayStation 3, your Nintendo Wii, Roku box. Many TVs and Blu-ray players now have it. Oh, Paul, this is for you. Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, the Paul Thurrott story.
The Paul Thurrott story. Yep.
Actually, this kind of sounds interesting. Two men who tried to save their lives by going on a fruit diet. Or this one. This is a classic. This is called Let Me In. An amazing Scandinavian vampire movie that is just... No,
there's a U.S. version of that, too.
But this is the one to watch.
I think that might be the U.S. version.
Oh, you're right, it is. You're right, it is.
They're both good.
Both are on Netflix. Watch instantly. Really? Did you see both of them?
Yep.
I kind of
actually the remake is very close. I think the only reason it's okay is because most people probably have never seen the original. So
right.
But they're very close.
Lots of great stuff. TV shows too. Mad Men's on there. Glee, Battlestar Galactica. I've been working my way back through all the Battlestar Galactica episodes.
I recommend the show Archer as the single funniest show ever made on TV.
Archer. Oh.
I think they only have season 1.
I didn't see Archer when it came out. So see, I just did a search. There it is, Archer. Sophisticated spy Archer. You like goofy spy comedies.
This is the funniest TV show ever made. Ever.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Is
it a cartoon?
Yep. It's like a Flash animation. It's crazy.
Well, we could just watch it right now. Mary Jo, you don't mind.
She would. I could watch this for 2 hours right now.
Let me
I don't
launch
have a TV.
Silverlight.
You guys know that?
Here's the deal. If you're not already a member of Netflix, get the deal, the 30-day free deal, netflix.com/twit. If you already are a member, tell your friends and family members. Paul, Mary Jo, and I would greatly appreciate that if you'd spread the word about Netflix. Hey, this does look cool. I like the way he's looking around. It's awesome. Netflix. .com/twit.
The world's most dangerous spy.
Oh, Archer! Moving right along. Item number 17 or something.
Yikes.
I've lost track.
There's a lot happening today. I'd also like to set aside 90 minutes for a Q&A, so
Let's
budget
we'll
your
put the
time
chat room
accordingly.
Stop watching Archer chat room and get your questions ready. You mentioned that co-authoring comes to the Word web app, did you?
I did.
So we'll
That just
move to-
happened, so there's no note next to it. But
There's nothing else to say.
the way I put this in the blog post was, if you were going to list some of the stuff that Google Apps has, or Google Docs in this case has, that was actually missing in Office web apps, I think number one on the list would be live co-authoring of documents in the word processing app, right? And this is now a capability of Word web app. I'm going to get this wrong, I think, but previous to this, OneNote web app, and I want to say Excel web app had co-authoring.
Yes, that's correct.
I think.
Yes.
And now, but it seems
I have
like
an actual Microsoft worldwide partner.
He's nodding his head over there.
Nodding his head.
This is what I need. Maybe he could be here every week as sort of a.
I actually have two
fact
Microsoft people in here.
Yeah.
One who worked as a developer evangelist, and one who is here for the Worldwide Partners Conference. I guess they're both here. Maybe no for that. No, they're just both here by chance because they love you and Mary Jo. I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say the Worldwide Partner Conference is in Anaheim, isn't it?
It's in Anaheim. That's right. But he thought he'd come here first. He's from England, and he'd heard that Anaheim and Petaluma were nearby.
And they are compared to England.
Yeah.
It's in Los Angeles, you guys.
Oh, that's
Los Angeles.
what Guy was just telling me. L.A.
I have Anaheim on the
Close,
brain.
but not exactly.
Are you going to go down to that, Mary Jo?
Yes, I am. I'm going to LA next week, all week.
Oh, I love L.A. We
Do
were
you?
just invited to the Dexter set by the producer to go see how they make the fake blood, because I thought that would be good to add to the shows.
He's a bleeder.
Xbox brand consolidation. There's no more games for Windows, kids.
What are we doing? Oh, yes.
Moving right along.
You've lost me. What?
I'm just reading the outline you sent me,
Oh,
Paul.
I did write that, didn't I?
You did. It says games
It
for
must be
Windows gets
true,
the
though.
axe. PC games are moving into Xbox Live.
As they should, right? I mean, Microsoft had discussed earlier this year that Xbox is going to be its all-consuming entertainment brand, and I think this is just another example of that. So they try to do this. It's basically games for Windows today. Games, I think they call it Games for Windows Live, and this
Is it
Games
like
for Windows
Xbox Live but for PC games? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Wasn't familiar with that.
And no one is, and I think that's the problem. So they're just going to call it Xbox.
Okay. Yeah, it should be.
No, it really is the problem. Well,
Yeah, it
that
makes
and the
sense.
fact that the client was horrible, and it's gotten better, but.
Right. Hey, this just in from your colleagues, Mary Jo Foley at ZDNet, the zero-day blog, Patch Tuesday, which will be this Tuesday. 22 vulnerabilities patched in Windows and Office. Microsoft just announced that. One critical.
They're all critical, Leo. Damn critical.
All of them actually have to do with security, but one of them is critical. So just a little update on that. Zune Originals. What? I don't even. Are these?
See, another thing that no one knows anything
I don't.
about.
What is that?
Now it's gone. So in the past, you could buy a Zune HD from a retailer, going to Best Buy
Right,
or whatever.
right.
They had different colors and different. Actually, they didn't have too many colors. There was gray and black.
Yeah, I have the black. I have the silver one.
Yeah, it's silver,
Yeah.
gray. If you ordered them from Microsoft online, you could choose from other colors.
that's
They had
right,
kind of a
yeah.
ruby red color, green and blue, I think. And you could optionally get some kind of a really detailed etching on the back, not just to Darlene with love, but a scene of some kind etched on the back. And that was called Zune Originals.
Yes.
I'd just like to point out we still have TWiT brick originals for anybody who'd be interested in purchasing.
Right. So if you want to
TWiT
use
brick,
your Zune HD design on something that will be a little longer lasting,
we'll be right on the wall of the beautiful, beautiful TWiT brick house. Bricks.twit.tv. Continue on, Paul.
that's okay. So Zune originals disappeared upstairs.
You like how I snuck that in, Mary Jo?
That was good. I'm pretty sad.
You are the consummate.
It
salesman.
looks like our massage therapist is there, probably looking where she could set up her table because we're going to have an in-house massage therapist. That's very exciting.
Wow.
No, I'm just
You can have
kidding.
your own cafeteria like Google.
There is a kitchen in the back, and we do feed our staff on Thursdays. This is what we're looking at right here. Is the newsroom. So Tom Merritt, Ayaz Akhtar, and Sarah Lane. This is where Tech News Today will be. And then you see, it looks like they've put a TV in my office. I don't know what that is, but that's my office there with the.
Nice.
Oh, you know what? That's a reflection of the window. That's what that is. That's my office there on the right. Very exciting. Sorry to interrupt. Zune Originals, you were saying?
I'm sad they're gone. I actually bought a Zune original. I have a blue Zune that I bought through Zune Originals when I first came out.
Did you get a custom etching on the back, or is it just a blue one?
No, it does. I thought about it, but I did not get, any kind of a special message.
Okay.
But you
Yeah,
can get it like a
and,
graphic, not just text?
Yeah, no, very detailed graphics. My friend has one.
Yeah.
I just saw it at his July 4th party. He was using it to play the music for the party, but it's a kind of a ruby cranberry kind of a color, the device itself. But there's a very detailed etching on the back. And they were really, actually, very high quality. But those are gone. So.
Very cool.
Yeah. I think it does not bode well for the future of the Zune HD hardware.
Really? You think that's like
I think-
a bellwether?
I think this could be the
Yeah,
end.
I mean, it's not like we had a bunch of good news to point to before this, but
No.
yeah.
But, there was still that rumor kind of lingering that Microsoft wouldn't actually kill off that said, are they going to do one more version of the Zune HD? They never would actually say no. So it gave some people hope. There might be one more, but I'm very doubtful now.
Damn you, Microsoft.
It says, if you go there, thanks for visiting. We're no
So you
longer
can-
taking new orders for Zune Originals.
You can kind of see a sample design there on the
Oh, yeah,
bottom.
these are really pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like those Celtic tats that the wrestlers get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, says Paul Thurrott.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was exactly the inspiration. I'm surprised you picked up on that.
You want to look like Rodman, you can. Finally,
By the way,
say again?
I'm sorry.
No,
I was
no,
just gonna say,
please.
years ago, I visited the Zune team. They were temporarily in this aircraft carrier-sized warehouse building in the middle of nowhere, and I had a heck of a time finding the building, and then a heck of a time finding the way into the building. And then when you get inside, you discover this. It's like the scene at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark when it goes on into
crates.
infinity, and
Yeah.
except that instead of boxes, it was people working in cubicles. And I would say that of the what appeared to be 10,000 people working away in there, that all but 3 of them were designing graphics of some kind. And that these graphics.
So these you couldn't get a custom one, but you could order one from the.
I think actually at some point, eventually,
You could even
I
get
think
your
they
own.
changed it so you could get a custom one. But I don't know what these people were doing the graphics for. They might have ended up as, the Zune HD comes with background wallpapers, and some of that was that. Some of them are those designs that you're seeing.
I think they're pretty cool.
But it was this astonishing amount of activity for such a, there were more people in that room than I think ever owned Zune devices, And I remember I asked the PR guy as I was led through this Death Star-like chamber, I need to take a picture of this. And he says, no, we don't allow pictures in here. But I said, somebody needs to document this. This is crazy.
It's amazing.
It was like Steve Jobs' Next must have been like, where you get the feeling of success. You walk in there and you're like, oh, look at all these people. They must be doing great. Everyone's really busy. And it wasn't really that way. Not really.
Amidst the dense stench of decay.
Yeah, it's beautiful looking, but what's that smell?
Now, what's interesting is when you go to this site, it says, thanks for visiting. We're not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
At the bottom, and maybe this is the tea leaf one should read, see how Windows Phone isn't just a phone. It's also a great Zoom music and video player. They're really pushing you. The next button you click takes you to take a look at Windows Phone.
Yep.
So I guess the writing is on the wall here. That the Windows Phone is the Zune, basically.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Speaking of Windows Phone, Verizon Wireless on Thursday eliminated unlimited data. I guess that applies to Windows Phone as well, yeah?
Yeah, new customers. I mean, I think the thing I just wanted to mention here is that, as with anything else in life that changes, there's going to be a lot of complaining, but it's going to be so many years, I think, before anyone bumps into a 2 gigabyte limit on a monthly bill. I just don't really see this impacting people. I think short term, it's going to let Verizon accurately charge the few people who are really destroying the network, and then over time, I think as our usage does grow, they'll have to revisit these tiers, I guess. But I think we're pretty much stuck in a tiered data plan existence. I mean, I think
that's the way it is. And if you look at the prices, you might even save money if you could. I don't think people use as much data as they think on these phones, especially if they're near Wi-Fi. You might actually save money.
I saw a statistic that the average Android user uses less than 600 megabytes per month. Yeah.
So I think they do have a 250 megabyte plan. I can't imagine using that.
I rarely use more than, I think it's 300 or 400. It's been a little while since I've looked at it, but.
Right. Hey, I didn't ask you this, but what I'm looking at now that I'm here at the Windows Phone site. Which one is your favorite? Is it still the Focus or
it is for me. The Focus.
I'm liking the HD7 the way it looks. I'm thinking maybe
I like the there's two versions of that. So the newer one is on AT&T, and that has a superior screen, I guess. I think the problem with all of the Windows phones, and that would include every one of those phones you see there, is that all of the existing devices have lackluster.
You mean like this?
Yeah, is that which one's that?
This is the HTC on AT&T.
So the cameras are not great on any of these phones, I think, which is the big problem.
It's got a big
thing there.
This is actually kind of pretty. I don't want to intrude, but good, he's got a password.
But I'm going to, yes.
But that's kind of nice, and I like the size of the screen.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep.
So that's the which one is that? Oh, wait a minute. I'm being handed now. This is the Samsung Galaxy, the Nexus. What is this one? Okay, this is the S2. Okay, side-by-side comparisons. Here you go. You could go Android, or you could go. They put the buttons on different places on every Android phone.
It's so pedestrian, though.
So pedestrian. I like how this looks. Look at that. Same size screen though. It's these new 4-inch. Is it 4-inch? Or maybe it's a little smaller.
No, this Focus is probably 3.7.
This isn't a Focus. What is this?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. What is this one?
That's an HD7.
HD7. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is not a Focus. This is the new Nexus. The Samsung Galaxy 2 S2, the new one. See, that AMOLED screen does shine, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, enough of that. Thank you for the phones, though, kids. I appreciate it. Those would be great.
And thanks for swinging by. Bob, could you show them out?
Okay, they want them back now. We got the Windows Weekly Tip of the Week coming up. Also, follow up to last week, our Windows 7 app pick and our Windows Phone 7 app pick, as long as we talk about Windows Phone 7. But before we do that, I would like to talk a little bit about something Paul and I love dearly. Mary Jo, do you ever listen to audiobooks?
No.
You don't commute. Your commute is down the hall.
Yeah, my commute is 2 steps away from my bed.
Well, thank you for putting on some clothes today, then.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. You could have been in your jammies.
There's a reason I never stand up.
So we are talking, of course, about Audible.com. Audible is the greatest place. Whoops, let me press a button here so you can see the Audible site. It's the greatest place to get your audio books. So many wonderful choices these days. Like zombie expert Q&A. They're really going big on the zombie thing lately.
I know. But I say I'm moving forward from zombies.
Are you? Hey, this is a great movie, Skinny Dip, which I guess HBO is going to make a movie or a TV version of this. What a great book that was. Carl Hyacin, I love his stuff. Funny, kind of gritty. The Elmore Leonard of Florida. I guess actually Elmore Leonard is the Elmore Leonard of Florida. But anyway, I love Carl Hyacin. How about this one for you, Paul? You're coming up on 40. Fortitude, making the next decades the best years of your life.
Leo, I'm leaving 40 behind in a rearview mirror.
Are you really?
I
thought you were younger.
I wish I was 40. That's how old I am.
Well, then this is the book for you. But no, Paul has his own pick of the week this week.
Finally.
And I love the name. You have moved on from zombies.
I've got a problem with Audible because these picks are like stacking up now. I've got this one's from a few weeks ago, but it's called Robopocalypse, which is an awesome name, obviously.
So instead of zombies, it's the robots that are going to get us?
Yeah, the robot apocalypse, which I love. So
I love it.
If you are a fan of such diverse things as the Terminator or, say, the I almost said Arthur C. Clarke.
iRobot.
Isaac Asimov robot novels.
Yep.
Yeah, this is kind of a nice modern interpretation or a combination of those things. So
This looks really cool.
yeah, this is a good one.
So here's the deal. You can get this for free if you go to audible.com/windows. Audible.com/windows. I should warn you, what you'll be doing is signing up for the gold account. That's a book a month. Your first month, though, is free. They want you to try it out. That means your first book is free. You can cancel it at any time. And here's the good news. The book is yours to keep. So if you want to take 3 months to read it, you can. You might. 12 hours and 43 minutes of robot apocalypse.
And if that's not enough, the author had previously written a book called How to Survive a Robot Uprising.
Oh, that's good. And
which I believe was a nonfiction title. So you can enjoy that one, too. Because you know it's coming.
You know it's coming.
And you know there's going to be an Apple logo on those guys.
It says they're in your house, they're in your car, they're in the skies. Now they're coming for you. Actually, this is kind of interesting. He has a PhD in robotics from Carnegie Mellon.
Yeah. This is sort of a Michael Crichton setup, right? You know, the fear of technology.
Yep.
How you can look at any advance in science and technology and see the negative, or see the absolute worst possible outcome for that thing. Like let's resurrect dinosaurs. What's the worst thing that could happen? You know what I mean? Like it's the same. We'll apply this to robots now instead of the zombies.
Well, I think this is for some reason a kind of almost a primordial fear in humans.
Yes.
I don't know why that is, because robots are a very recent invention, but it somehow speaks to us.
Whatever, with the invention of the atomic bomb, of course, we suffered through 10 straight years of atomic radiation-treated insects that turned into giant things. I mean, so this is just a natural progression, is how I would say it.
Well, here's the deal. Audible.com/windows. There are many, many books, over 75,000 to choose from. One of them, Robopocalypse, a novel by Daniel H. Wilson. Highly recommended from Mr. Paul Thurrott. Give it a try today. We love Audible. We know you will, too. Now, our Windows Weekly. Now, Mary Jo, I don't know. You can recuse yourself if you wish, but I think what you should do is be the peanut gallery and mock Paul.
Well, actually, I'm going to have her do the mobile pick. This was actually her idea.
Oh, good. I like it. Well, but we will start with the tip of the week.
So the tip of the week revolves around Dropbox versus Windows Live Mesh, and I think I blogged about this because Ed Bott had written a blog post where he said, he's given up on Dropbox for various reasons and for good reasons, whatever. But
not so much technical, but license and
security and
security
so forth.
Reasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
spent some time
Dropbox.
examining the Dropbox license this week, which is exactly how I like to spend my time. And I have to say, I found it wittier and no less onerous than Microsoft's license. So, whatever. But I don't care about that kind of stuff. My point is simply that as a Windows user, if what you are trying to do is sync information between Windows PCs, Windows Live Essentials, which is that thing Mary Jo and I were talking about, offers a far better solution than does Dropbox.
And it's free. So, you got it.
It's free. It's fantastic. It works great.
What is it, 25 megabytes? How much storage?
It's 5 gigs to the cloud. It's virtually it's not really unlimited, but it's essentially unlimited between PCs. So if all you're looking for is PC to PC sync, I would point, actually, I don't know if I put this in the blog post, but some people don't want to put their personal information in the cloud. That's not a possibility with Dropbox, but it is with Windows Live Mesh. So a lot of nasty feedback. Dropbox, like any other technology, has these avid users who like to point out every little pedantic, problem with someone's argument. My point is very simple, that if you're a Windows user and you really want to sync documents between your Windows PCs, not for some reason down to a Windows mobile phone, Windows Live Mesh makes a lot of sense.
And it's free. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
For that purpose. If unlimited syncing for the purposes of syncing PCs, that's really great, actually.
Yeah, it's neat. I used it extensively and have through various incarnations. It's kind of evolved over the years, but so.
I actually, I presume it doesn't It's not heterogeneous. It won't go both ways.
It works on Macs.
It does. So I could use it to sync my PCs and my Macs.
Absolutely.
Because that's really what I use.
The other
Dropbox
thing that's neat,
for.
and again, not to beat it to death, but with Dropbox, although this will change eventually, right now you basically have a single folder. So you have to kind of work the way Dropbox works. In Windows Live Mesh, you can arbitrarily decide which folders you want to share. And on subsequent computers, you can put those folders wherever you want them to be. I have put them all in the same place on each computer for obvious reasons, because it's simpler to think of them that way. But it is exactly what you think it is. So I can be sitting in here on my main computer working on this Word document about the podcast topics, close it, walk out to the den, open my laptop, log on, open the same document,
So
and it is already synced. It's immediate.
So what do you do on a Mac? Is there a Mac client for this, or do you use the?
Yeah. Yep. You can
There it
download a
is.
client. Yeah.
Holy cow! What have I been thinking all this time?
Well, there are many reasons to use Dropbox that go beyond what I was talking about. So, for example, as a Mac user and as an iOS user, you may want to access those documents on your iPad. Right now, that's not actually possible with Windows Live Mesh, and it is possible with Dropbox. I think there's less of a case to be made for a phone, frankly, because there aren't a lot of instances where, for whatever reason, you want to open out a Word doc or whatever you're looking at on a phone. I think there is some case to be made for the iPad. I think it's fairly reasonable to assume that Microsoft will eventually have some kind of an iOS client that will work on the iPad, but for right now they don't. So I just wanted to point out some of the ways in which Windows Live Mesh is, in fact, superior to Dropbox. And so I did.
I think you have convinced me, my friend.
Finally.
Well, because I work in a heterogeneous environment. If I were just Windows
Yes,
to
you do.
Windows, I thought, oh, that'll be fine. But that's one of the reasons I use Dropbox. I also use something called Wawa.
Yeah, I don't want to. I could go on and on about this topic, but one thing, I do use an iPad myself, but I don't sync anything to the iPad directly. But what I do is some of the folders I'm syncing are specifically aimed at device sync down the road. So I sync a folder full of favorite photographs, for example. I then sync those to my iPad using iTunes. That's the folder that I sync for photos. So they still make their way onto the iPad, and I could still access them on the iPad. No, I can't browse, over the air to get to them through Windows Live Mesh. But that's not a huge concern for me.
That's
so
minor.
it's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not the way I work. It's okay.
Cool. Well, now see, it downloaded an exe, so I have to find the.
No, there's a Mac client.
I just have to find it.
Yeah,
It apparently didn't want to check and see what browser I was using, and just said, here, have an exe file on me.
using Chrome, is that what it is?
I'm using Chrome on a Mac.
Yeah. So,
And it's funny because this is bot article was why I switched from Dropbox to Windows Live Mesh, but he's doing it for other reasons. You're just saying, why not?
My contention was simply, why would you ever use?
Why
Dropbox?
would you use Dropbox in the first place?
This argument. We have.
Yeah.
I can't figure out a way to paste this into Skype. There must be a way.
No, don't, because that's a different machine anyway. It won't help me. I probably if only there was something that you could search.
You could search the web.
Yeah.
Search for Mac
Like
Windows Live Mesh,
Mac-
and the first thing that comes up will be the link
Mac
to
Windows Live Mesh. It would be so cool if you could just type that in and
into something.
into something, and it would
Some
then
kind of search
and it would tell
arbitrator.
you. Hey, business-oriented deployment and management tools.
I just wanted to put this out because we talked about this last week. Something around IE9 or IE10 or whatever it was, and Chrome and Firefox. And one of the things I was saying was that Firefox, especially, but Chrome also, one of the issues they have is they don't have the corporate deployment and management tools that Microsoft offers with IE, and for that reason, IE will always be the de facto browser
Right.
in businesses. But actually, somebody pointed out to me, I should have written his name down. I'm embarrassed by that, but he said, actually, Chrome does offer those tools, and there's a link now in the show notes.
Yes.
They do. So
Yes, they do.
there you go. So they've already done something right that Firefox has always screwed up, and that is to offer corporate, like an MSI, and also group policy.
I'm
policies.
thinking, and I'm not sure, but I'm thinking that started when they were planning the Chrome OS.
Okay.
Because of course they hope to sell a lot of these Chromebooks. We got one in the studio.
Well, this
right
stuff
now.
is compatible with the Microsoft corporate environment, so this is actually
makes sense.
Yeah. As I said last week, it's not hard to do this. It's unclear. Third parties have done it for Firefox, but it's unclear why you wouldn't just do this. I mean, on Windows, the business market is a big part of the market.
Right. Our Windows 7 app pick of the week.
Yeah, this one's interesting. So most people listening to this have heard of Nine-Night, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
I had it featured as a pick of the week probably years ago. But not, in case you haven't, Nine-Night is a service, essentially, where you can, after you've installed your computer, you put Windows on your computer for the first time, you've installed all the updates. The next thing you want to do is install a bunch of applications. For a lot of us, what we do is we kind of manually navigate to different websites and download. We want the Chrome browser or Firefox or whatever it is. We want this FTP client. We want this chat client. We want Skype or whatever. This is a site that actually has all those things on a single page. You just check off the ones you want, and then it goes to the install without you having to fritz around with every single installer separately. It's a very handy tool. So obviously these guys have seen some success, but they're trying to monetize what they're doing, and they've come up with a separate tool called Nine-Night Updater. It actually, you do have to pay for it. It's $9.99 a year. I'm testing it now, and I have to say, it's pretty cool. And what it does is it pulls your computer, and it looks for all the applications on your computer. And then it does the same thing that Nine-Night does, except for installed apps, and it looks to see if they're all up to date, and if they aren't, it provides you with a grid where you can decheck or check the ones you want or don't want, and it will update everything at once without you having to go through all of the separate updaters. And in fact, let me see if I can find this quickly. I took a screenshot because I was kind of impressed by this. Oh, where is it? Here it is.
Meanwhile, I'm setting up Windows Live Mesh in my MacBook.
Yeah, sure.
I'm just going to sync the Dropbox folder. That'd save me some time.
I've not tested that, so I don't want to give you my okay on that one. But, why not?
Why the hell not?
I was surprised by what was out of date on my system, including a number of Adobe apps, a Firefox web browser, a PDF.
Oh, so Nine-Night will do updates as well as install for the first time.
This is a separate service, but it's cool because it tells you what the version you have is, and then what the latest version is. You can check and uncheck the ones you don't want. And you click install, and it does it all silently in the background. There aren't a bunch of installers popping up. Yeah, this is a neat one. And
$10.
Yeah,
Why does it say starting at $9.99?
Well, because it's $10 per computer, but I think if you buy multiple licenses, it goes down.
Per computer per year, we should point out. Yeah.
Yep.
That's nice.
Yeah, this is a good one. I mean, I try to highlight apps that are free when possible, but this one's very interesting. It's worth looking at, and I believe there's a trial.
Well, they're Nine-Night installers free. I use it on every machine when I set up a new Windows machine, so I don't mind giving them a little money.
Yeah, no, I mean, they've proven themselves to be very trustworthy and useful, and this is a new service that they have.
Well, it's also a security feature because, as we know now, bad guys are going after third-party apps because Windows is pretty well patched. So it's really important to keep your third-party apps up to date.
Yep.
So there you go. Nine-Night Updater. And now, our Windows Phone 7 app pick of the week.
I forgot to look and see what this week's big game release was, if there was one. I'm not even sure.
Because, we had Plants vs. Zombies, then we had Angry Birds. So what do we got?
Angry Birds gets really aggravating, by the way. There's that middle part of the game where the puzzles are all really hard, and you kind of hate yourself for continuing, but you really want to finish it.
Yeah.
And you just basically throw birds around randomly until you figure out what some of the little things do, and that's where I am right now.
I hate it when that happens.
I hate those guys.
I hate it.
Anyway, so this week's pick is actually kind of awesome. It's a mobile app version of The Onion, which is possibly the funniest, e-zine type fake news site online. They've done a less successful TV show. I think it's called The Onion Network News or The Onion News something or whatever. It's okay, but this brings their awesome content in mobile form. And, when you're standing in line or whatever it is, obviously you can spend your time in different ways. You have this thing in your hand and your phone in your hand, excuse me. And you can... we want to be careful about what I'm describing here. You want to
put your thing down and take up the phone.
Yes, please. Excuse me, sir. Please step away from the onions. You want to, or you can get online. You have choices and so forth. I mean, sometimes you just want to laugh, and I find their brand of humor to be perfect for my own personality. So,
are the videos in this as well as the text and everything?
Yeah, there's some video content in there, including some stuff from that TV show, which again is okay. I'm not even sure if that's coming back or whatever, but
good.
It's okay.
Good.
But to me, they do a lot of good video content on the web that predates that TV show. You know, one of my favorites was the Call of Duty, like real modern warring. You know, where they just stand around and bitch about how they've got nothing to do and it's boring. And,
I love that.
you know, you get achievements for doing like, you know, push-ups in the sand, and you know, there's some priceless humor on the Onion. So this is a cool one.
And now
it is free. It is free.
Finally, your mobile pick of the week, which is
Now,
an
Mary Jo
iPad.
Foley is an iPad user.
Ah.
And apparently it's midnight where you live now.
The lights have gone out.
It's suddenly very dark outside here in New York.
Are you expecting a storm?
Yes.
Wow.
So yes, the pick for me is the new version of Bing for the iPad, the 1.1 version of Bing.
Tell us
And the
all
most
about
interesting thing about it is this new search capability they've built into it that's called Lasso or Lasso. How do you say it?
Lasso.
Lasso.
It's spelled lasso, but it's pronounced
I know.
lasso.
I've heard
It is
people say it
pronounced
both
lasso.
ways. I say lasso. but-
Lasso.
So you can go on your iPad and use your finger and circle something you want to search on,
What?
like the actual words.
And then
Do you have the new Bing there? Is that the new Bing?
I think
Not
this is the new Bing, unless it.
It needs to be the 1.1 Bing that just came out this week.
Yeah, I've updated my iPad today, so it should be.
You can't circle the cat. You need some words.
By the way, I like the little kitty cat. But I would have to be. Let's say I'm in news, for instance.
Right. Go to news and
Yeah.
look for an article, perhaps.
All right, here's an article. So if this isn't, I apologize. So here's CNN, and I could just lasso some
Find a term that's searchable. You know, like somebody's name.
International Monetary Fund. And how do I lasso it?
I believe you just circle it.
Oh, wait a minute. Here we circle and search.
There.
Okay. So I just go. Oh, that is weird.
Okay, and then it's going to let you search on
And
that.
it did. Look at that.
That's kind of cool, right?
That was wild.
Because
You know
think
what the
about how
best
you have
part
to
of
do
this
it
thing is?
now on an iPad.
It completely
like on an iPad
bypasses
now,
the
if you
copy
find
and
a
paste
word you want to
functionality in
search,
the iPad.
Right,
you have
you'd
to
copy.
cut,
Yeah.
paste, all those steps you have
Yeah.
to do that are kind of painful. This just lets you circle the word, search, and there it is.
Okay, let's
And-
search for Slave
Right.
Lake. Okay, so I have to tap this little lasso button, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I can search for I lasso Slave Lake, and I let go,
Yep.
and it goes, "Yep, I got it." And there we
Dun,
go.
dun,
Slave
dun.
Lake. Images of Slave Lake.
Yeah, so that's
You know-
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, and you know this is true. If Apple had shown this off at a WWDC or whatever keynote, that they would have gotten a standing ovation for this.
Totally. And Microsoft just kind of snuck it out there, which
Yep.
is interesting. It's like,
And
by the
I'm
way,
sure
we
the
added
reaction
this thing.
from the Mac faithful was like,
Yeah. Okay, but to me, the most interesting thing about this is in their blog post when they wrote about it this week, they said, and it's in Bing on the iPad right now, but who knows where it might appear next in a Microsoft product.
Ooh.
Are there any multi-touch Microsoft products you could think of that are on the horizon?
Well, you know what I was thinking? Office on the Windows 8 slate.
You and Kara Swisher both.
Office on the Windows 8 slate.
Wouldn't that be kind of cool? Like
Yeah.
you're using your little Windows 8 slate on your lap, looking all Mac-like, and you suddenly want to do a search, and you just circle it, and there you go.
But I have to say, Bing on the iPad is actually a great app.
It is a
it's
great
neat.
It's kind of an all-in-one omnibus app, but I really enjoy it.
I mean, I assume the one on Windows Phone looks just like this.
Does it?
No.
No.
But we might see a better Bing app on the Windows Phone once you have the HTML5 browser on the Windows Phone with Mango,
Right.
Yeah.
perhaps.
So I tap
I
the
don't think-
lasso, and then I circle something. Oh, I can't stop. So I need to somehow.
It should make a little whip sound when you actually lasso it.
It should.
And
There should
kind
be
of an
some like
Indiana
cattle
Jones
horns
thing.
that look like longhorn.
There you go. That's cool. Neat. Mary Jo Foley, thank you so much for being with us on the show today.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it's very nice to see you once again. Mary Jo is easy to find. She blogs for ZDNet, and you can find her blog at allaboutmicrosoft.com.
Yes.
And we love having you, so come back again very soon.
Thanks.
Paul Thurrott is the editor-in-chief of the SuperSite for Windows, winsupersite.com. And look for his book, Windows Phone Secrets, in bookstores everywhere. Look, my Dropbox is now synced on my MacBook. I'm going to go install this everywhere.
You've gotten your MacBook in my Dropbox.
I do. I sync the Dropbox drive. That's just not right.
You're a nut.
I'm a nutcase. We do the show every Wednesday. I'm sorry, Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC.
Liar!
Liar! Thursday. And we have, let's see, this is the 7th, the 14th. We have 2 more shows from the cottage, and then in 3 shows, Paul, we'll be doing this show from down the road.
Yep, I'll be there.
Studio, and you'll be. Now, are you going to be in town? Not till the 20, not till August, right?
Not till August.
Yeah, but you'll be there for our big party.
Yep.
Look forward to it. And Mary Jo, whenever you get to the Bay Area, come by and see us.
Thanks. I will.
Thank you all for being here.
Anaheim is in the Bay Area, isn't it?
Yeah, really next door. It's unfortunate that the Developers Conference isn't in Anaheim.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
the Partners Conference. But other than that, well, no, Anaheim's, we should say that's an easy mistake to make. Anaheim has got a big convention center there.
Yes. I plan to visit it soon.
Right next
Yes,
door.
we'll be there.
Really? What's that for? When
That's where the build conference is there.
Build. Okay. Thanks for being here, everybody. We appreciate it. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly.